Hi there, I've had a lot of questions about how to use Affinity Designer. So today we're going to go over how to use Affinity Designer for bloggers as far as creating Pinterest and Facebook-worthy graphics. So this is the graphic that we are going to recreate. So what we're going to do is go up to File, New, and we want it to be for devices. RGB8, and the size I like to do for Pinterest is 1000 by 1500 pixels, and I will say OK. And there we have our new screen to work on. So I have a picture over here on that I downloaded from Big Stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop that. Obviously it's way too big, so I'm going to press Option and scroll out. Option again to keep my size. If I do Shift, that's what it does. So I'll do Command Z to undo that. Option, expand, and then Option, scroll in. And that looks about right. Now I'm going to go over here where the A is, press on it, and I'll go up here and choose a size, let's say 96 for now. And we all have certain fonts that we like to use, so I'm going to go with Nano Gothic is what I usually use. I can show you my logo is here, so I like to stick with these two fonts and these colors. So it's always good to refer back to that. I actually have a hard copy of this printed off, and it has the color numbers as well as what fonts they are. So go back here, and I'll type, what are we doing here? Dear Moms. I think I'll make that white. I'll go back and grab my cursor, and obviously that's a little bit too big. So we'll go back and make that maybe a 72. And I want moms to stand out, so I'm going to make that bold. Okay. Go back to my cursor to move it around. That one actually looks a little smaller, but that's okay. Okay, now instead of recreating the text all the time, I'm just going to press Option and drag and drop that a few more times, and then I'll use that as my base for the next. Okay, so I need in the I'm going to make that quite a bit smaller, and I'm going to flip it up here. And here's where I'm going to pull in my colors. I have colors over here that I generally use, but to save your colors, you simply press this little swatch here. Go back to my cursor so I can move this where I want it. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Now see how I keep highlighting the background picture? I can go to my layers here, and it's on that picture, and I'm going to press the lock so that it quits highlighting that every time. Make that a 96. I'm going to make it bold. And I forgot the S there. So this up here is their snapping tool. Right now it's on. So if you see, when I move across the page like this, it's going to snap to the in the, and it should give me Should tell me when it's centered as well, but I'm not seeing that right now. But what I'm going to do is press Option, scroll in, and in that I want to be the same size as the P. So I'm just going to do that until it snaps with the red line. You could also play with the fonts to make it the right size. That S doesn't belong there. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm going to bring in my orange color here. And I'm going to use my second font, which is Nanum PinScript. See that green line? It's showing me that that is centered. I don't necessarily need it all to be centered, but all right, now since I did Option and drug that down, I know that it's the same size as up here. I'm going to go back to my cursor, and voila. I think that's pretty close. A little different, a little bigger. Now the thing is you might not feel like you can see that as well against the background. So there's a real easy fix for that. I'm going to go over here to the left where the square is, and I'm going to drag and drop a square here. Okay, and then over here there's an opacity. I'm going to take that down to 25%. Right click it and move it to the back behind the letters. Oh, but I didn't want it to be behind the picture. So another way to do that is just to drag it over here on the left. Well, it doesn't want to be dragged. Here, let's try dragging this one. All right, well, I'll right click it and say arrange, move forward 1. There we go. Now what I don't necessarily want to happen is to have this straight line right here. I want it to look a little more natural. So I will go over here to Effects, and I'm going to press on Gaussian Blur, and I'll take that up to about 10. And there you see it's not quite as straight of a line, but it still helps those words to pop a little more. Now the next important thing to have on a Pinterest-worthy graphic is your URL. Sorry, my family laughs at me for calling it an URL. So I'm going to go over here and add more text. I usually do that in Courier. It's going to need to be quite a bit smaller. And I like to do it in white, but I will do that in a minute. So I'll come down here. Double click it, and I'll click white up here. Still looks a little big, so we'll go up here and make it a little smaller. Oops, I didn't quite get the whole thing there. I'm going to make that 24 and white. Grab my cursor. And it's centered up right there. Now I also have a transparent umbrella that I like to put on there. So I'll drag that in. And I know that the size I normally like is 125 by 125, so that does it for me there. And there we are. Now you'll go up here to File, and save. And I usually save them to my desktop. And I'll press save. And I'm saving that as an Affinity design file. So if I ever need to go back and make changes, it'll be real easy to do. But to save it, in order to put it onto my WordPress site, I'll go to File and Export. And here you can kind of play around with it a little bit. Right here it's set at JPEG medium quality, and the file size is 106. We'll see what it looks like high quality. 207. I usually like to keep it under 200, but I think that that's going to be a better quality, so I'll go ahead and export it at that. And there it is, ready for me to insert. Thank you all for joining me.